So pretty crazy, pretty ridiculous cringe libs. On the other end of the spectrum, we've got our liberal, our omni-liberal over here on the mic with Rave Dubin and Piers Morgan. Quite a spicy exchange as it's prone to be. But do you want to go ahead and play this, Gavin?
Yeah, so we talked a little bit about Destiny a second ago, but he's been on a rampage trying to get himself banned from Kick, which is like the right-wing kind of Twitch.
Yeah, the free speech bastion.
Yep, and he's been, like I said, on a tear, making super edgy jokes about the assassination attempt and about the dead Trump supporters. We already kind of discussed our mixed feelings on the subject, but let's take a look here because Piers Morgan is not happy.
Your position seems to be that anyone from Donald Trump to his supporters who represents their thinking, their ideology, their political views, that if they are killed by an assassin at a rally, then they deserve what's coming.
Now, I just have to say, for posterity, if you had put the nuts and bolts to any number of guests of Piers Morgan and subbed out the word Trump supporter with Hamas supporter, almost all of them would say yes, and he would not bat an eye.
To them, and in your words, fuck them. I mean, do you not understand that to most decent Americans and to decent people around the world, that is incredibly offensive?
Except he has, again, none of that standard for the people of Palestine. I just have to reinforce that. The way that he is so appalled and shocked by this one piece of rhetoric, and I mean rhetoric without action from Destiny, and he has none of that for the insane, ridiculous Zionist cope that comes on this fucking program and says all kinds of racist, genocidal freak shit. He has none of that pearl clutching for them.
Yep. And makes you look like a two-faced hypocrite, somebody who wants the other side to behave to a certain level of decency, but is himself incapable of displaying it.
The conservatives don't have it in them to have that level of decency.
So why don't you rise to a higher bar? Why don't you yourself show them the promised land, Destiny? Show them the way they should be behaving.
Have been doing it for 8 years. There's nothing to be gained there. So instead, we'll just have a laugh instead. When you're asking for this type of decency, you're saying, like they did for Pelosi's husband. Like,
here's my stance, actually. Like, I didn't give a fuck when conservatives made jokes about Nancy Pelosi's husband. I'm going to be honest. Like, I really didn't give a fuck. I wasn't sitting here, like, pearl clutching on the show. Like, did you see the joke they made about Paul Pelosi or what? Like, who fucking cares, right? I would never excuse someone genuinely encouraging that kind of thing. Like, if someone was like, yeah, thank God that patriot went out and, tried to deal with Paul Pelosi, like, obviously that would be crazy.
No, instead a bunch of people like Jimmy Dore pretended that it was his gay lover coming back to seek revenge because he's a fucking idiot.
Conspiratorial stuff was stupid, but generally when it comes to like jokes about super powerful people and stuff, like, I don't really give a fuck. Like, I fucking hate the Pelosis. I hate the Trumps. If someone, if some idiot moron tries to do something stupid and fails or succeeds, frankly, yeah, just like anything, it's fair game for fucking comedy. We live in a hell world. The only thing we can do is make jokes about what's going on. You know what I'm saying? So I don't really like the pearl clutching on either side, to be honest.
100%. Speaking of jokes, guys, I've been meaning to do one of my new stand-up bits that I wrote for work. So stay tuned. Stick around till the very end. This is a good one. It's about 2024 elections.
They did for Pelosi's husband, like they did for BLM people, like they did for the endless. He didn't die, but he got the crap beat out of him with a hammer, and they made jokes about his
and
gay
by the way,
lover.
The jokes were disgusting. Why can't you say the same thing about the people making mockery of Trump? Why do you join the mob?
It's not just the jokes. It's the underlying substantive analysis as well. It's the lack of responsibility for January 6th. It's the lack of responsibility for the Gretchen plot.
I don't admire much about Steven, but I do admire the fact that he doesn't give a fuck what platform he's on, who he's talking to. That man is himself and nobody else.
Yep.
It's the
he doesn't pander.
Nope, and he won't fucking dilute himself or his brand.
Yeah.
Ability for
but
all the comments made about BLM protesters, George Floyd,
by your yardstick,
for all of these.
By your yardstick, what the Republicans should do in response is simply say,
Dave Rubin's yelling in the background, if you can hear that.
Hey, fuck all of them. Fuck them all. Who cares?
Pierce, that's what you're not understanding. Pierce, listen to me. This is what you're not understanding. You keep bringing this up to me. Like, well, Destiny, if you act like this, aren't conservatives just going to do? And then you say a thing. But they've done this for 8 years.
Right, so the other side is horrendous. Therefore, I'm going to be even more horrendous. It's so
That's the
unprincipled.
horrendous part about the conservatives isn't just the rhetoric. It's the underlying factual denial of reality. That's the biggest, that's the huge issue. That's the big bad
Let me
part.
bring Charlie.
The big-
Also, can we just add, because this is about where it really functionally ends, but Donald Trump extrajudicially assassinated a man. All right. Can he really point fingers and be like, how could you possibly say you don't care about this? Or Donald Trump make jokes about Donald Trump's assassination? It's like Donald Trump literally assassinated Qasem Soleimani.
And killed a fucking American girl, remember, in Syria or something? Like in his first like month in the fucking White House.
Yeah, exactly. Obama did it too. He killed the Anwar al-Awlaki and he killed the guy's son. All 2 Americans. So
yeah, it's crazy. And
I
also,
wouldn't cry if Obama got shot at.
The one thing that just pisses me off about this whole discourse around the jokes and stuff is like, I don't know. I thought we all kind of agreed, at least those on the right, that like if it's an obvious joke, it's an obvious joke, and we shouldn't treat it as if it's like a serious call for fucking action. Like I don't think anyone in their right mind would actually look at Destiny's tweets or his jokes about that and think that, oh, he's in a sincere way, you know, this is a call to arms. He's asking his supporters to go get their, you know, gun off the wall behind them and go kill the president or something. Like, I don't think it's an obvious joke. You know, he's being humorous, he's being edgy. And like I said, in the same way, if some fucking stupid conservative wants to make a funny joke about Paul Pelosi being gay and getting hammered to death or whatever, like, I'm not gonna lose any sleep over it. It's just not something I really care about. I think that humor is one of the only coping mechanisms we have left, as I said, and I think most people can tell the difference between humor and like a genuine, you know, call to action. You know, do you disagree with that? I think there's edge cases, right?
100%.
Yeah.
It's like, look, dude, intent matters. Okay, I've laughed about all kinds of horrible shit. Okay,
Right.
I still will listen to, you know, old stand-up from people who say the F slur. It still makes me laugh. Do I think it's appropriate to make that kind of comedy in 2024? No. But is Eddie Murphy Raw still hilarious? Yes. You know what I mean? I can walk and chew bubblegum at the same time, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that South Park is still funny because when they hit the nail on the head, they can say something about society that is cruel and mean and, you know, punches you across the jaw, but actually sits with you and it makes you laugh, which is how the pill gets swallowed, right? It's a spoonful of sugar that helps the medicine go down, as we like to appropriate on this podcast when people ask why we cover drama all the time, right? It's because otherwise nobody would have the patience to sit and bear all of this. It's a lot to ask from people, especially on their day off when they're just trying to sit down. You know, one of the things we learned from Michael Moore, I read Michael Moore's book, Here Comes Trouble, when I was a senior in high school, I think. And I got it from the local library. And one of the things that he talks about was how he absolutely fucking hated it when people would interview him and ask him like why he decided to become a documentarian, right? And he would always be like, I didn't become a documentarian, okay? I became a filmmaker. You can see my movie at the AMC theater, buddy.
Cool. Yeah, and as Destiny also pointed out here, some of these pearl clutching right wingers like Dave Rubin, who happened to be on that panel. I mean, let's take a look at some of their past jokes. Here's Dave Rubin saying, here's hoping that AOC, Rashida, and Ilhan Omar join Aaron Bushnell in his brave protest. Of course, you didn't hear anything from the right wing. You didn't hear people clamoring to have Dave Rubin censored or get kicked off of any number of social media platforms when all sorts of right wingers made disgusting comments like that. And again, like when it comes to this, I just don't think it's that funny, right? Like it's not that funny. So I don't, you know, think it's a good joke. I'm not saying there is no possible scenario ever to make a joke about Aaron Bushnell. I'm sure that someone has successfully made a funny joke about Aaron Bushnell. As tragic as the situation is, I don't think there's any situation that's like above comedy, right? Even the most fucked up thing imaginable can still provide source material for comedic relief, right? Why do you think 9/11 and the Holocaust are two of the most popular premises for jokes, right? But I just don't think that Dave Rubin tweet was all that, you know, clever.
I mean, it's kind of like Sam Kinison, right? Like he's one of the most famous comedians of all time. I think he's Joe Rogan's favorite comedian. He was Kevin Smith's favorite comedian. That's why Silent Bob wears a trench coat, right? and he has that big impression, this preacher delivery. But one of the jokes that he always made, and I think Joe Rogan used to cite this all the time, is like, cringy comedy that can actually be good if you make people laugh. And that was like, you ever sit up late and you're drinking beers and you have to watch these stupid fucking kids starve to death in Africa? It's like, hello, why don't you pick up and move to where all the fucking food is, huh? Look around, there's only sand and bullshit, like whatever the fuck it is, right? And it's like, okay, that's horrible. You're making fun of starving children in Africa. But the idea was that, he could make anything, make people laugh about anything.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And obviously the joke there is like, that's not an option. You know what I'm saying?
Obviously it's not an option. Yes.
It's not like the joke is literally shaming people for not having food. Like, you know what I'm saying? So of course, there's a variety of contexts. And like I said, to the extent to which I would defend any of those Destiny tweets, it's just because I actually thought they were slightly more clever than some of the, edgelord crap from the right, who to them, just like saying the N-word is a joke. Like there's no actual clever punchline. It's just like, I did a racism. Isn't that fucking edgy?
Aren't I brave?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, all of you guys are too scared to say this.
Yeah. And I do think that some of Destiny's humor kind of in the same way amounts to just shock value.
Oh, 100%.
But sometimes he actually does make me laugh. And I think more often than not, he is, genuinely, at least, somewhat capable in a comedic sense. Although, like I said, I don't want to give too much credit to the guy. I'm no Destiny fan.
Yeah, absolutely.